Hey there, creators. Welcome back to the Dear Creator YouTube channel. I am Daniela, and this is the channel where we practice our creative, critical, and self-awareness thinking. So we're applying all of our experiences on earth to our self-awareness journey. And so today's experience is laid off, or even the thought of being laid off. Are you worried about getting laid off? I want to create a space where we get our power back when it comes to creative thinking, critical thinking, and just believe in ourselves. So I'm going through all these different topics that we might experience on earth. Some topics I have experienced myself or I'm just exploring. And then we're also tapping into creators on YouTube, on TikTok, on all the social media platforms that can add perspective to the conversation. So today, as we go through layoffs, I want to provide a landscape and a framework for us to think through this process together. And I've named it COPE. So COPE is going to be creativity, observation, preparation, and then empowerment. And I know that word empowerment can feel loose to some people, but really we have got to get back to being able to think on the good. Layoffs have been a big topic, so that's why I'm bringing it to the table now. It's going to be on our mind. If you're working in a corporate America, if you've seen a lot of tech layoffs, it's like, oh my goodness, I need some goodness in the world. And that's where I want to leave us with. Positive thinking, perspective can add to your life is if you think on the good and that's all that you see, you might just start to see the good. Now, before we get into this video, I will say in my experience of being laid off the first time, I'm not sure why this came over me, but I just remember pretending it didn't happen. I'm not saying that I'm suggesting it to everyone. I think it takes a lot of belief in yourself and confidence in your world to do so. But I did pretend that it didn't happen. And what I mean by this is I started to just live life. I took that opportunity and time to feel, to be outside, to just act like I was one of those yoga moms that had like this rich husband and I had nothing in the world to worry about. And then after I got off of my I started to really strategize. So I got on an Excel sheet and I made it very simple so that I can stick to it. And I wrote at the top of my Excel sheet, what exactly did I want to make and type career aligned with me the most? So I had to tap into what I thought I was good at, what I think my talents are, or what I actually wanted to do. And then I actually started to think about my value because we are really experiencing Earth through our own lenses, through our own experiences. I don't know if I should use experiences that many times in the same sentences, but I love the word experiences. So we're living our lives and I'm living through this lens of think on the good, think on the good, think on the good. And I write out how much I want to make. And I remember telling somebody that was very close to me, I said, this is how much I want to make. And I know I'm going to make it at the end of this year. And I was so surprised because I forgot about writing on the top of my Excel sheet. And then one day I looked up and I said, wow, I did it. I actually did it. But let me just tell you about this Excel sheet. So I wrote down jobs that I thought I would be interested in, see if I can find some space because I like the brand or I like their identity or their name. And then I started to go on LinkedIn and I just looked for similar types of jobs. And then I started to really read websites and I did not apply to any job that I did not want, that I could not find myself actually giving my all to or being able to be myself in the job. I wanted to find something that I knew I was good at. I went with my strengths and I said, I know I can do this. I can rock this. I got all the data behind me. I got all the stories behind me. I want this and I can have it. And so I started looking at jobs. And so when I applied with intentionality. I made sure that I actually could like this job. I could speak to that job to the degree that I loved it based off of what I've read and researched about that particular job. So each job was something that I can say, yes, I want it. Before that, though, I had trial and error where I was in panic. I started to panic after I was like, I'm living my life. I had this rich lifestyle. Oh my God, my life is living good. I was like, okay, I don't have a job. So I started to panic. And I was looking for these jobs that literally were paying low or like just completely nonsense jobs where I was just like, they are doing this out here in America of the USA. They really want me to work all these hours and pay this amount and then think I can live and survive? That's so crazy to me, but I applied anyway because I was afraid. And something was protecting me. I felt protected because as simple as these jobs were, and I knew that I thought that I could easily get them, it just would just fail by the wayside. It was just like, no. But I did have support because I was running my own business that didn't have a lot of income and didn't require a lot of my energy. But for some reason, that was sustaining itself. So I was thankful for that. So it gave me some room. Then I also could go out and do the gig work. I was doing the Uber Eats and the DoorDash and all the things to make sure that nothing fell loose, because I was not strategic about my budgeting. I was not strategic about what it is I needed to have financially. But this did prompt me to understand that write down what you owe, write down what your bills are, understand what you need, and really put it down on a piece of paper and like read it. And then write questions out. What are your next steps? Because I think we go through this life and we neglect that we have behaviors that support our experience here on earth, because experience is a great word. We have these behaviors and these decisions that we make. The more positive or better decisions that we make, the better the outcomes may be. And you can try it out, right? I think if you live your life and you felt like you made all these positive decisions, you made all these positive decisions and you still fell by the wayside, reassess, talk to people around you, get the storytelling going, because there might be something off. Okay, let's get into the videos. The first one is about our perspective shifting. So the first three will be about perspective. And I have a job. Look, I have a job. I have a job and I cannot say my words all the way together. So believe in yourself. Let's get into the video.
A lot of people are going through layoffs right now. A recession is being spoke about and stuff like that. And I want to talk to you guys about turning a negative into a positive. And a prime example is when the pandemic happened. A lot of people and a lot of the creators that you see today made those transitions into doing that because they were kind of forced to sit with themselves and figure out what they actually wanted to do in life. I've seen my dad over the course of my 29 years of life get laid off multiple times. But one thing that my dad always had was resiliency. He never gave up on himself. He never tanked and folded. He made a way and either learned a new skill set to go get a higher paying job somewhere else, or made the best of that time to go maximize what he could possibly do. So I want to tell you guys during this time, if you're going through something like that, maybe it's your time to step out and go pursue something that you want to do with the little downtime that you have, or learn a new skill set to maximize your money somewhere else at a different company when those opportunities present themselves. So always remember, it's all about how you view the glass. Is it half empty or is it half full? Take this opportunity to maximize and bring the best potential that you possibly can for your future.
That argument never gets old. Looking at the glass half full or half empty really will shape the way that we experience Earth. And test it if you don't believe it. Test it out continuously.
I don't want to do things. I want to not do things, just like you taught me.
So this next video is going to speak a little bit to my personality of adding humor to this Earth experience, because as you know, there are going to be several things that's going to be uncomfortable here on Earth. But if you can't laugh through it, then it's really, really going to filter. So I don't know. I thought this was interesting, funny, sarcastic. And I wanted to share with you guys. But tell me in the comments, what do you think that you could use to shift your perspective on something as good as you think about these layoff thoughts or the fear of being laid off?
So recently I got laid off, and after I got laid off, I made a very positive tweet about being laid off. And I'm just a very happy-go-lucky type of guy. And somebody from Bloomberg News was like, "Hey, you seem very happy about being laid off. Would you like to be part of this propaganda piece about how layoffs are super chill?" I was like, "Yeah, I love propaganda." And then we did the interview, and me being haha hee hee the whole time, I think she thought I really liked getting laid off. So they decided to make me the face of unemployment. Go ahead and fire me. With a big old smile. Some workers are welcoming losing their jobs.
I don't know if you guys have the same humor as me, but funny. Okay. And layoffs are not funny. Exactly. All right, so this next one comes from the relatable mind, the relatable mom, giving us a little bit more perspective on that creative thinking.
For someone that just got laid off, I would have never thought that I'd be sitting in my car making a TikTok, drinking a nice coffee. I think I'm about to go take a walk. The truth of the matter is, one thing that I love about this one friend is she always looks at the silver lining of any situation. She tells me all the time, if you're going to worry, don't pray. If you're going to pray, don't worry. And honestly, I fucking hated that job. I am overqualified for that job. I'm a Dean's List recipient. I graduated with a 3.8 GPA. I have my bachelor's in human resource management. But what was I doing for the past 6 months? Working this dead end, high anxiety sales job that I hated. Literally, my soul was like screaming every time I punched the clock. And I have an established business on my own. But I enjoyed the steady paycheck so much that I put my hopes and dreams on the back burner because I need to feed my kids and pay my bills. And I don't got no husband to take care of the burden for me. So we already know that, right? But it's like, I'm not about to bust my ass for somebody else anymore. I'm going to bust my ass for myself. I will do that. Yes, I will. And now God has put me in this position that I have to. I was just about to book a solo trip to Mexico. I did book a trip, but it wasn't Mexico. But I mean, you get the drift. I'm not about to sit and wallow and be sad. God seen that I was truly miserable, and He put something in me that was not that. And He's like, "What are you doing? What you doing? Get up, my girl. Do what you're supposed to do, my girl. Yeah. Do what you're supposed to do, my girl." So I thought I would be worrying, but I'm not. I'm relieved. Literally, when they let me go, a tear rolled down my cheek. And it was like, I'm free. I'm free. But honestly and truly, this is a scary journey. You know, I ain't gonna lie or fabricate that. You know what I'm saying? But what can you do? Life is so unpredictable. The job that you work right now is unpredictable. You don't know what's gonna happen. What's even more scary is that I spend the next 20 years working a dead end job I hate and never trying to take that bet on myself. Never living my life to its full potential. My God said, I ain't put you here to do that now. Now get to work. I'm about to get busy.
All right, so what are we learning from this creator? These are some of my takeaways. When we think about working for someone, there's always a negative connotation. If we decide to build someone, we're going to need someone to work for us. So having the type of integrity that we would want as a leader is important. But what I take away is she realized that there is a time where you realize that this probably isn't for you. And some jobs are positioned this way. The way that we go about finding those jobs is we have to identify who we are and what we like and what we want so that we can take that wherever we go into a job. So it's not about serving the job, but it's about being who you are within that position instead of it being this job is my identity. Now, we talk about loyalty when it comes to these jobs where you might be loyal to a job and then they'll just throw away you the next day. So the understanding of who you are is actually going to help you navigate this earth experience, because now I'm not leaning on this job for my source. I'm leaning on my identity. So understanding your identity, where is that coming from? Is it spiritual based? Is it coming from something that you tapped into some evolution or realization of why you're here on earth? Really sit down with yourself. And that's what I believe these advancements, and I know this could be a touchy topic, of AI can do for us, is we still need to be in the world operating, contributing to mankind in a way that's actually not going to have us all like suffering and we can live life. But then perhaps if we understood AI, or we approach AI in a way where it does all the work that does soak the life out of people, suck the life out of people, and we have more room and time to do things that actually added to this world. It's just a theory. But this is what I'm taking away from this creator, is that she feels like she found some freedom and she was forced out of this because she might have stayed there too long, just because it's the false sense of security of working for someone. Again, going back to working for someone versus working for yourself. I spoke to this creator once and he laid out a perfect map of how it should be when you're young and you kind of work those jobs that are like your grocery store jobs or your customer service jobs, and then you start to get into some type of corporate job or a job that has a little bit more technical skills, and you learn some of the processes there, and then you graduate from there, and then you start to take those skills and techniques into your own thing. That's really like a journey that you can take. Or perhaps you want to stay in a position where you don't have to be the leader of these corporations or these jobs that's supplying work for other people, because there's a heavy responsibility. So look at the perspective of someone having a heavy responsibility of all the people in the world. And now they may not have a practice of empathy. They might not have management skills of their emotions. They might not have those leadership skills. So they come to a decision, they panic, the economy is going a certain way, and so they lay off people. But these are humans in these decision-making seats, and maybe above or not so human. I don't know. It's a theory. But whoever is making these decisions, there's probably some type of lack when it comes to understanding people who are giving their all and giving their heart to something that they thought would be security in return. So just a little bit of things I'm thinking about. Those are thoughts that go in my head as I navigate thinking on the good. I also think of, what exactly am I experiencing? Am I experiencing this world of greed where like they just snatch you away and throw you away if they don't need you anymore? Or is it I'm dealing with these humans who haven't had a chance to really understand how we can work through together, how we can be supportive in a way where we understand that these people have worked for you. They have added to your corporation. And so maybe there's a process that you can take them through. And sometimes jobs, companies have great processes in place with the severance pay and how they support you through those transitions. Other jobs weren't very transparent about the fact that they didn't know what they were doing and that your position was temporary. And then there's life and all the surprises that happened to us in the last few years where people don't really know what to do. They didn't have a game plan or a framework in mind of saying, oh, this is going to happen and then this is going to happen. So it's all about money at the end of the day. It's all about source of income. And if you were in a position where you couldn't provide for your employees anymore, where you can't take the money out of anywhere if it's not coming. So there's going to be cuts. So this is where I navigate to the not taking this experience so personal, where it's about your heart and your soul. Because if we learn more about identifying where our truth comes from, identifying who we are, identifying why we're here, we might not have such an emotional attachment. It's going to be hard. I'm going to be honest. Being laid off does not feel like gummy bears at all. But after you feel that first feeling, then you have a decision to make. Am I going to stay in this feeling forever and just suck the whole life out of me? Or do I want to do something different? Do I want to be creative with my thinking? Do I want to see how I can change my world by just being strategic and creative with my thinking skills? All right, let's go on to the next video. This next video is from a creator named Delightful Key. Let's see what Delightful Key has to offer us.
Oh, hey y'all, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling? So, your girl, let me just give you a little backstory. So, your girl has been unemployed for about 7 months, but God has been making a way between my savings and my husband that I'm so grateful for. Between them two, I'm all right. You know what I mean? Like for the last 7 months, I've been okay. I've not been struggling. My bills are paid. Nothing is behind. Like I've been okay, right? So today I interviewed for an HR position. I was previously in an HR position, but unfortunately, I was a part of many, many massive layoffs that happened at this tech company, right?
Mm.
So I was feeling discouraged. You know what I'm saying? Like I was doing all these interviews, I was hearing back from all these people, and nothing was sticking, right? So I finally got an interview for a place that I wanted to be at so bad. Like I wanted the first 3 times I applied for them, they rejected me, right? They was like, no, we want somebody else, blah, blah, blah. But this time they sent me an email like, hey, what's up?
Okay.
So if y'all see this video, that means your girl got the job, right? I ain't posting this if I ain't get the job. But either way, honestly, I'm happy because I've been wanting to get at this company for the longest time. And they finally wanted to interview your girl. Like, Stop playing with God, okay? Stop acting like he ain't always been there for you, right? Stop acting like he can't make a way out of no way. Stop acting like he can't make the impossible possible, okay? Stop playing with him. Because even if they decide not to go with me, but they are, because I'm speaking into existence, this job is mine, okay? Even if they decide not to go with me, I got an interview from them and I'm proud of myself. I'm proud. So I say all of that to say, and the moral of this little story or whatever is stay encouraged. Keep fighting the good fight. Know that it's not always going to be this way. Know that something is coming for you. And just think of rejection as redirection. God is preparing you for what he really wants you to have. Just stay the course. Stay focused. Be patient. I'm out, y'all. Bye.
All right, let's go through the next few sections of the method of COPE. So now we're going into observation and preparation. So I wanted to really start us off with the creative thinking with these creators. We're listening to these creators in their perspective on layoffs. Now we're looking at creators who are going to speak to, if you're afraid of layoffs, what should you do? Or how should you prepare if you believe a layoff is coming on? Or if you don't want to get laid off and you feel like some of these techniques may help you, those are the type of videos that we're going to navigate through now. So this is O&P, observation and preparation. All right, so this next creator, she is going to be Tara Reid. She has her own app company and she talks about her experience with layoff in a way that also offers some tips for those who are afraid of experiencing it or have experienced. Here's what she has.
I was working at Microsoft and Microsoft laid off people. I was one of them. At first, I kind of took it personally. It kind of took a hit to my own self-worth. But after that, I kind of put together a plan. I gave myself a handful of months, maybe 4 to 6 months. And I was like, if I can make this generate revenue, then great. I'll turn it into a business. If not, I'll go back and get a job. And I have not been in a job ever since. So I think a couple things that I really learned along the way. First of all, job security doesn't really exist. It's a contract we talk about, but this job could lay you off at any time. I actually think that mindset was really helpful to me in going into entrepreneurship because I wasn't glorifying having a job. I was like, okay, if I can be laid off at any time, maybe I just need to create my own job. The second thing I really learned is that the people that you're connected with from your job, they are not necessarily cut off. They can become customers of the business that you start if you decide to start a company after getting laid off. So don't cut everything off, even if you're feeling oh, that hurt my feelings. And the third thing that I learned is that it's okay to have a season where you don't have everything figured out and you don't have a perfect plan. Likely this hit you by surprise. And so I just want to say, have some grace for yourself. Brick by brick, figure out each part of your plan and you'll get there.
People are caught totally off guard when it comes to layoffs. Not you, though. You follow me, Vivian, your rich BFF, and your favorite Wall Street girly who's going to show you how you can predict the next round of layoffs at your company. Warn notices. The Worker Adjustment Retraining Notification Act of 1988 is a labor law that protects employees by requiring most employers with 100 or more employees to provide notification 60 days in advance of planned closings or mass layoffs. All you got to do is Google WARN Act plus your state to see a full list of places laying off employees. For example, this is the New York State WARN notice page. Also, if you click into any of the listings, you can get all the details. I picked Target because this is an easy one to understand. The store on 117th Street is closing at the end of the year, so 293 employees are going to be impacted. Layoffs can be super scary, but knowing what's coming around the corner can really help ease that anxiety. So please check out the WARN notices for your state. And if you want to learn more about money and your career and finances, follow me.
Hi. So there are a lot of layoffs going on right now, and I know people are jittery and concerned. And so a question that we regularly get is, what can I do now to help protect myself, for the next round of layoffs? And the truth is that, of course, there are a variety of reasons why people get laid off. It's usually nothing personal. It has to do with the bottom line. But there are things you can think about now. I'm going to throw out a few to help position yourself. Okay, so here we go. Number one, now's a good time, if you haven't thought about it, to figure out what is the business driver within your organization. What brings in the money? What's the cash cow? Why does it exist? That's the unit that's going to get the most focus. They're least likely to cut jobs because As long as those people are contributing to activities that actually bring in money, the business needs to focus and keep that going. So if your business is in consulting and you have a wonderful relationship with a key customer that regularly pays the bills, you're going to be in a much better position potentially than if you're in the back office and no one really knows exactly what you do. So think about what drives business within your organization and figure out, is there a way you can directly contribute or tangentially contribute, whether it's finding a job within that, that unit, maybe not, or just ways that you can contribute directly. Secondly, become obsessed with the adding value. You should always be value obsessive, but now is the time to really double down. And I'm not just saying do your job and do it great and keep your head down. Of course, do your job, but you want to always look for other opportunities within your organization, now especially, to add value. If they just gutted a unit that used to have 90 people and now it has 15 people who are still doing the same work that 90 people used to do, and you're really good at process efficiency, maybe now's the time to say, hey, you know what? Let me jump in and do a little process mapping and see if we can figure out how to lessen the burden for these folks, Showing that you're adding value, even if it's outside of your exact core competency or your job description, is really good. And thirdly, let management know how you're contributing. You have to be out there advocating for yourself. A lot of things going on. Everyone's right now worried. They're worried about their positions. They might not always be thinking and looking around and seeing who's the most useful, who's really contributing. And so you need to be the advocate to show them. It doesn't mean brown nosing. It doesn't mean to be obnoxious. But, in regular opportunities, not only your own management, but letting the management of other units, if there's a way you can contribute, you want them to see your value and think about you and think about what the loss would be if you were no longer at the company. Follow us for more tips, and I hope you don't get laid off.
Here are 5 crucial steps you need to take if you've recently been laid off. Number 1, stay calm, okay? I know you're stressed. I know you're scared, but you cannot do anything or make any kind of sound decisions if you're panicking and if you're anxious. Breathe and stay calm. Number 2, negotiate your severance package. A severance package is an agreement between you and your employer that basically says you're going to take this lump sum of money and benefits in exchange for you not suing them, point blank, period. The terms of this agreement can always be negotiated. So you want to reach out to either a lawyer or an HR friend to see if you can negotiate more pay or more benefits. Number 3, start applying to state and federal assistance programs. I know y'all going to have a hard time with this. Y'all don't want to be like that person that's applying for unemployment and food assistance, but baby, it's going to help you pay your bills. Not just that, but if you're a taxpayer, you're literally paying for it, so you might as well take advantage of it. Number 4, start strategizing your career. This is the fun part. You can really figure out what do you want your career to look like. I ran out of time, so number 5 is in the comments.
So what are we going to take from these videos? These are our observation and preparation videos when we had someone speak about being laid off, not liking it, but then betting on herself. Then we had another user say that there are strategies that you can use if you don't want to be one of the ones that get laid off. You want to be saved and protected. We know that these companies, they generate income, and that's how they stay in business. And so they hire you because you help support that generation of income. And so if you're not adding value, then you will get put away. But does that mean that you're not valuable? Not at all. That's why we have to understand who we are, because if you do add value and they still put you away, you still have to have yourself in place. And so when we think about this world and we're like, oh, we have these leaders in place that just throwing us away, then maybe this is the opportunity for us as a collective to be better leaders, to be better thinkers, to understand that there's empathy involved and there's self-awareness involved in leadership. And these companies are full of leaders who might not care. And that's a problem, because we want leaders to actually support all of us collectively, because we all depend on one another to experience this earth the best way that we can. But everyone has to make that decision. And we don't put these people in leadership. We don't give them more power, especially the power of our thinking, so that they can keep running us over. We have to come and realize if they say that it's this percentage that they have out there of the 1%, if 99% is giving their power to 1%, because the 99% can do something like think on the good they can become better leaders, they can create systems that actually support the collective, but it actually takes each individual actually believing in that. And I don't think that we're in that place right now, but we can try. Keep trying or trying. Duh. Anyway, so then we are listening to this next section, was going to go into empowerment. And when I think about empowerment, we're looking at how do we move from this earth after we think about it, we go through our feelings, we understand all of our plans. How do we actually move through this earth critically and creatively so that we can actually experience the best experience possible? If you don't want to work a 9-to-5 and you see that there's other options out there, look at that option, determine which option fits you the best. This all goes into being in a position that actually makes you happy. And that position could be outside of a 9-to-5. It could be traveling and using other sources of income. But we know that we're getting so much content, right? Consuming so much content where it's like, you can do this and you can do that and you can make all this money. And I believe that it's possible, but it's also about us being mindful that we have to stick to something and go through the process. Because when we think about these jobs and we think about someone starting a business or having the responsibility of holding all the people's income, is that is a risk. And so if you decide to be that person who takes that risk, it means that one day you might have to lay off people because you didn't manage it properly, you didn't put the right people in place. And so our thinking skills are all embedded into this experience here on earth. And we also are dealing with other humans who might not have it all together. They might have decided to try to do this and give you employment and then they failed. And that is okay, because we are failing and we're winning all throughout life. We just have to decide how we get to our wins a lot faster. And that does start with us creatively thinking on the good. I'm going to live on that rock forever. That if we think creatively, collectively, all together, it might really shift us. But again, this 99% should not have less power than this so-called 1% that they say that is keeping us down. We really have to get rid of that mindset and understand why we believe that this 1% has so much power over us. And it really does start with our thinking. So let's go ahead. Let's start here, get to the end of this all, and let's really get to this empowerment thinking. And these creators are thinking about other solutions outside of maybe I'm not a 9-to-5, or if you're a teacher and you hate it, please get out. Please get out of the classroom. If you do not like children, get out. Because we're mixing. We shouldn't work a job and not like it, because then the outcome is we're going to be drained. We don't feel that freedom. We might even get laid off because we don't have the value added to that job. Find something that you love. First, find who you are and the love within yourself. Love within yourself. Self-love is good. It's good. Because if we love ourselves and we treat each other like we want to be treated, then we're treating each other like we love one another. And that might be helpful in this world that we are experiencing. But let's go on. Identify who you are and your strengths, and then matching that to wherever you go into this earth actually provides a sense of stability, because now you are operating from your God-given talent. And so the source of income should not deplete if you really go about that the right way. So I'm going to leave out with these videos. We're going to watch them together. And then at the end, I would love for you to share if any of these videos gave you a new idea, or any of these videos shared a perspective that you haven't heard before, or if they didn't. I would love to know that it didn't work and what your thoughts are, because I would like to navigate with how you're thinking and see how I can strategize with helping us all continue to think on the good. Let's check out these last videos.
Let's say that you get laid off from your job and you need a job ASAP. Unfortunately, there are a ton of layoffs going on right now with companies such as Lyft, Stripe, and more. However, I'm going to tell you a solution of how I got a job 1 month after I got laid off from Snapchat. And hopefully this is insightful to you, Antrell, and everybody watching. Now, first, I see two things. Number one, Antrell's in tech, and number two, he's in project management. I'm going to use both of those to come up with a strategy that helps some of my clients land offers at these companies, and hopefully you can too. First, go on LinkedIn and search layoffs plus the company that you got laid off from. Now, there will be two types of posts. Number one, from people who got laid off, and number two, people who are willing to help. With the people who got laid off, look at their comments and you'll see that people are willing to give them referrals and even interviews. Also, for the people who are willing to help, they even have the hiring sign and even say to reach out. Then send a message just like this to connect. You're going to get so many referrals and opportunities. Try it out. Let me know how it goes and follow for more.
I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret. So I've been seeing these layoffs happening, like this second round of layoffs with Google and all these big tech companies. These government contract vendors are having a hard time filling positions because everybody was running over to all these, big companies. Now that they're laying off, y'all might want to go look over there because they're having a hard time filling those contract positions. Also, that goes for like the nurses, doctors. You make big money on contracts with the government. So while y'all get laid off and it might be a little frantic right now, y'all go check out some of those companies that have contracts with the government because they are having like a really hard time filling certain positions, especially like IT, medical, those things. So there go y'all little hint.
Listen up, teachers. What you do for work is incredible and wonderful and noble. And if you want to keep teaching, go ahead and scroll on by. But I'm also seeing a lot on here about teachers looking to get out of the profession. As somebody who made that move out of teaching, I feel like I'm qualified to give you some tips on where you can use your skills within the business world. Number one, the first that's dearest and nearest to my heart is going to be sales. I was given my first sales position because I had been a teacher. All day, every day, you're selling your students and listening to what you have to say. You're breaking down concepts that might be difficult for them to understand and making them tangible. The best salespeople educate to sell. Number two is going to be project management. You are so organized and on top of running your students through a process like a well-oiled machine. With a little bit of training and the right certifications, you'll be the best project manager that a business has ever seen. And number three is probably the easiest for most teachers to grasp. And that's corporate training. It's a great way to make a transition from teaching into the business world. And it was actually my first transition out of teaching into business. Your students are just no longer little people, they're big people. And you can use that as a launching pad to learn more about the business that you're training for or business in general to figure out what might be the right fit for you. Again, if you want to keep teaching, keep teaching. We need you. But if it doesn't feel like the right fit anymore, think about one of those options.
It is very important for you to have an identity outside of your job. It's extremely important. The place that I work right now, one of the things that a lot of the elders have told me was to make sure I have interests outside of this place because they are afraid to retire. And I was like, why would you be afraid to retire? Like, I'm 34, like 35 now. And I'm like, of course I want to retire. If I can retire right now, I would. What the heck? But they would all say like, nah, because like they don't really know what they're going to do with their time. And it made me think like, no hobbies, no interest. You don't do anything outside of your job. And I talked to my mom about it, and she really said, she's like, back in the day, all we did was work, family. So like having hobbies and things like that was not a case. And it made me think like, you got to have an identity outside of your job. You have to, which I mean, I already have it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who just work and come home. It is very important to have interests and hobbies outside of your job. Because your job will leave you, you will leave your job. So if I could tell anyone that's around my age, is to most definitely have some type of hobby outside of what you do day to day, because you need to have something as a hobby or interest, even if it means you go for walks, jogs, runs. I don't know, some type of activity to do even when you're older, because your identity, a part of your identity will be stripped a bit when you do retire. But it's important to also know that you have an identity outside of just being an employee.
All right, so that's all the videos that I want to share with you all today, friends. Again, I said watch this video if you are thinking or afraid or fear layoffs. And the goal here is to shift our perspective from that fear and adopt some of these creative thinking strategies that these creators have shared with us today. Again, going through that quote method, how do you get creative about your perspective about the layoffs? How can you earn from this? How can you strategize with your own life and understanding of yourself in order to get to a better outcome? Just researching where do you feel the most comfortable and identifying why those industries are going to help you feel secure if you feel insecure about working for the man. And then there's just living in agriculture, really understanding how to sustain ourselves and grow our own food and build our own things. I think this is probably the biggest step into really that empowerment. And there are resources out here. I'll start to share the resources that I've come across where if you aren't in that space or you don't even know where to start, this is part of my self-awareness journey and my self-development journey is to get back to being able to do that basic living type of experience. experiences. And then really continue to work on yourself and your well-being, because life is going to feel the way that it's going to feel. And the best superpower is how we respond and bounce back with that resilience and not give into the thoughts that don't serve us. And then lastly, I want to mention specializing consultants. So we work these different jobs, we have these different experiences. It might be your chance to just use what you already do and make this a part of your income and your business, is to consult in what you feel most powerful about. And then if you are really strategic about the fear, understanding what practices you can take right now in order to give you a sense of security if you decide you want to leave that job or if you want to stay at that job. And then that empowerment is really about us understanding that we are all dependent on one another, no matter how much we think that we can be independent or there's this left and this right. It's really about us all focusing on the good, what actually helps supports all of us together, instead of having so much time fighting. We think about this 99%, again, I want to say this, is we have to get our power back, and it starts with this creative thinking. It starts with thinking on a good. It starts with that healthy thinking, and I don't think it's going to be as easy as me saying, hey, everybody think good, and everybody starts to think good. It starts with us practicing. And so we see creators out here, they're practicing it, they're sharing the message, and sometimes we consume so much of the negative content that we forget that there's a world and there's a corner of us all thinking on a good and is actually impacting our lives. Let me know in the comments what you think. What are your takeaways? What are some stories you can share with other creators that are dealing with layoffs, have dealt with layoffs? What are your triumph stories? How did you navigate and shit different? I would love for you to share that and create a community in the comment box where we engage with one another in the most mindful way possible. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your being, and your mind. Be mindful.